So what's this?
This is we do a radio podcast.
Radio podcast. Oh yeah. Record the radio. Right?
Yeah, and we record the conversation, but I need someone to say this in the beginning.
Oh,
so every week is somebody different. You see?
Can
you try to say it?
So how to say this one? The Drax Files Radio Hour, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
With Joe Yardley.
With Joe Yardley. Okay.
Okay, let's try it.
Okay. Hi, this is Edmund from Dinosaur Restaurant in Pacific Grove. You are listening to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Hello there and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupre. I'm here with Joe Yardley in 1920s Berlin. Hi, Joe.
Hello.
So, Joe, as you know, I spent hobnobbing with the VR crowd, the creme de la creme at the SVVR conference and expo in San Jose.
Oh la la, you pervert.
I didn't mean it like that. I thought I might get you jealous or something.
Well, yeah.
I might get you jealous that I was in a room with a lot of people with really bad haircuts and flip-flops.
Oh, God, yes. It sounded like an interesting experience.
Yeah, and we have tons of audio which we'll disseminate over the next few weeks. This is our last live-to-tape show, Joe, for Season 2. We'll take the summer off in terms of the news segments, but we'll run excellent shows, I hope, of specific interviews with newsmakers. But going back to the expo, all those videos are online. The SVVR conference, the second annual SVVR conference or VR Expo, was at the San Jose Convention Center. It was big. What was interesting, it was big. There were many more people than last year when I was at the Computer History Museum. Mm-hmm. But what I felt is like the venue was so big that it almost felt a little empty. I mean, you might have seen the Ebbe Altberg presenting. They streamed that live. Ebbe was talking about SL, that SL is alive and pretty well. And he was talking about the new platform. Mm-hmm. And the room was not empty, but it was also not filled to the brink. So that was a function of the much larger venue.
I bet it will be full next year.
You, Ebbe, as we know, mentioned you 8 minutes into his talk, which he was criticized for the talk because he didn't give away as much as people wanted to about the new platform, but at least...
Well, yes, of course. I mean, how dare he not tell us everything all the time, especially me.
There was, of course, Palmer Luckey from Oculus, Amir Rubin from Sixth Sense. They were talking about the rise of consumer VR, which was a very interesting talk. There were talks about standards in virtual reality. Very interesting panel. We linked to all those videos. That one was moderated by Tony Parisi, the co-creator of VR ML back in the day. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Ebbe had a 20-minute talk about SL and the next generation virtual world. Today on the show, Joe, I think we're going to go a different route because, as the title suggests, I want to know from my trusted assistant, Kaleo, who went with me and interviewed, among a whole bunch of other VR luminaries, one Philip Rosedale of High Fidelity.
Yeah, I've heard that name before.
Kaleo has an interesting take on where the industry is, which I think might differ a little bit from people who are hyping it for, one reason or another. Mm-hmm. So we'll listen to his take on it. If you want to know the what, where, and how much. Breaking news started blogging. I direct you, of course, to the excellent coverage from the Road to VR folks. Ben Rames is an excellent moderator. He's really rising to the challenge to know the consumer VR
So what was your favorite part of the entire
let me just pick like a handful of things. My favorite was Noni de la Peña's immersive journalism experience about the Trayvon Martin shooting that happened in Florida, where a teenager was shot by George Zimmerman, who felt threatened by him, and she whipped this up within 2 weeks with Unity, and it was displayed on a Gear VR headset, and you basically listen to the 911 calls, and you're in the room with eyewitnesses that called 911, and so you're in the background and you're witnessing George Zimmerman coming out of the car. Yeah, this is an experience that really draws you in. I think that shows the potential of virtual reality beyond gaming. I mean, Noni is, that's what she's always done, I think, but she was trying to prove that when breaking news would happen, for instance, these things could be whipped up really fast. In the future, you don't watch the evening newscast. You pop on a Gear VR or whatever headset and you experience the news.
Well, and especially, of course, in cases like these where most people judge right away out of an emotional point of view,
That's
or
right.
with no technical know-how. It would be quite interesting for a lot of people to actually be there and be part of something like that before they get into a frenzy and decide if it's wrong or right, and that sometimes it's very complicated and not black and white.
And you know
literally.
what, Joe? What was interesting, because people know where I stand on this Trayvon Martin tragedy, but there's a lot of people. I asked Noni, "Aren't you manipulating people?" And she said, "No. People went through this experience and they said, 'Wow, now I know exactly why George Zimmerman was right to feel threatened. Why he did shoot. I would have done the same thing.'" So it's in that sense, it doesn't seem to be manipulating, as some may claim. You're just trying to bring your sort of hippie leftist view on police overreach to virtual reality.
Yeah.
It's a great proof of concept how this would actually be much more objective, I think, even than any kind of newscast.
And of course, this would also be very interesting for court cases. Get the jury to actually experience what happened. They already recreate certain crimes with computers to show them how the bullet went from where to when, give some people some sort of overview. But imagine using virtual reality for this and actually being on the crime scene and seeing how dark it was and hearing the noises and, suddenly realizing, wait a minute, if this was the situation, suddenly it changes everything to how I interpreted it. Right.
And she used, I want to say this for context, she used the original 911 recordings that are public. There was not a big deal to get them. And, they edited them. They cleaned them up quite a bit. Real quick, the context, I said a couple years, the shooting of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin happened in 2012 in Sanford, Florida. So Zimmerman was not convicted because he acted in self-defense, as the court determined, under the stand your ground law that is in Florida and I think at least 10 or more other states. But I hope people will look that up and contextualize it. Another favorite of mine, Joe, was the Vove eye tracking headset. So that is, I think, also a game changer. They just started a Kickstarter campaign a couple of days ago after the conference. It's unbelievable. The Vove headset knows where your eyes are focused. So the depth of field effect that you have in real life, that the background is blurry and only where you're focusing on is in focus. That's an aspect that is huge, I think, in terms of feeling real presence. So
did you get to try it?
Yes. The demos are very, very basic, but just that when you pop it on and you move your eyes and you focus on a different spot and it comes into focus, it's just
that's
crazy.
That's a game changer.
Yeah, it feels like this is your eyes.
If the Oculus Rift doesn't have this when it comes out next year, they might be in trouble, because this is the kind of thing that people really want. And if I look in the Kickstarter campaign, I think they got over 175,000 in the first 24 hours.
And Loki Elliott, our listener number 3 or 4, he sent me a video that where a child plays piano with the eye tracking headset. His eyes focusing on different objects in the display, trigger keys on the piano. It's amazing. So that's a huge feature, I think. And you're right. I mean, maybe the reason why Palmer Luckey was so nervous fidgeting around with his water bottle was that, like, oh my God, we need eye tracking.
What's with those stupid water bottles? Oh, never mind. I was watching the videos and I was thinking, all these grown men with their little water bottles.
Don't get me started. We live in a drought. I brought my own water. I'm serious.
Don't you have a faucet?
They have faucets, but you know what they will tell you? Well, I need clean and purified water to get my scientific brain really working.
Big girls' blouses.
Talking about brain, remember the Emotive, the wireless headset that records your brain waves and translates them into data, an EEG device? It's a group out of New Orleans, Yoda Technologies, Yotta.
Funny thing that is. I nerded out there for a second.
Yotta Technologies, they work with the Emotive, and they have experiences where they put the user into a stressful situation. They have an oil rig, an explosion on an oil rig, and then they measure the stress levels of the user, trying to find out how they could use that in training. And they were talking to the New Orleans Police Department about putting police officers into a role reversal situation, put them into avatars that would be African American suspects on the street somewhere, and they would be confronted with a cop, quote unquote, harassing them continuously with checking for ID and stuff like that, and then measure their reaction to that role reversal. So stuff in that area is moving along, and I have a longer interview with these guys. We're gonna play that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, very interesting.
It's fascinating.
Until you've had a gun pulled on you, you don't know what it's like, and making that part of training experience for police officers, regardless of the situation, would be quite interesting. I don't need training anymore because I've had guns pulled on me. But it's really good to put people in that situation, or even just going through a simple arrest.
It's more about the empathy for the other person, for someone who you are not normally in their shoes. I think that's the big thing to me, the positive thing about the potential about virtual reality, as much as it is with Second Life as well, where you can test out certain things by having an avatar, but obviously with virtual reality it's much more amplified. On the other hand, could be the negative side, could be to manipulate people and dehumanize the enemy even more in terms of, maybe military training and stuff like that. Who knows? And
the problem, of course, is if you can get into someone else's skin, literally, and be someone else's avatar, but you can't copy someone else's behavior, and so you'll have someone who's a police officer who's suddenly put in a position where he's harassed and arrested, but he will not respond like someone from the street who's been harassed and bothered many times before. He'll just react
Correct.
like the way he would if he was himself. So that creates a very difficult situation, because he'll probably say, "Oh yes, officers. No, officer. Sorry, officer."
Well, if that would be an option, but you could also imagine a more guided experience where you are in that skin, but you're basically forced to do whatever this avatar / non-player character that you're inhabiting and observing from within is programmed to do. But you're still inside looking through his eyes, but nonetheless you have a lack of agency. That's kind of what Noni is doing with her stuff. You're witnessing things like the Trayvon Martin encounter there with Zimmerman, but you can't do anything. So it's actually, that's kind of painful too, and forces you to examine these emotions, because you're really on the scene right there.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I want to say one more thing, actually two more. What I also saw was the XX array from Blue Vishnu, which is an array of cameras, Joe, where you can, with under a minute, they can scan your body and you have an avatar.
That's fantastic.
An absolute photorealistic avatar.
I want that so badly.
It's unbelievable, these guys. And we talked about this where USC, the Institute of Creative Technologies, went to the White House and scanned in President Obama for that bust. They have that mobile light stage. But the XX array, I'm told by them, is a lot better. And I mean, the results that I've seen are really amazing. They have some demos, and they do it with the whole body, right? So you're just standing there in a T-pose, and boom, there's the cameras flashing, and there you are. And then you can kind of put that in whatever game or whatever virtual world. And they're planning a Kickstarter to allow them to drive around the country, the United States that is, to bring the array to the people so they can then come in and have their avatar made right there, because right now they're just in Los Angeles. And so they just want to take this whole thing on the road.
Yeah, that's very interesting. They should visit Linden Lab, scan a few lindens.
Scan all the lindens so that when they're around on the grid, they can't hide behind some goofy avatar.
It would be really nice to see Ebbe, being himself, Charles.
Oh, I also have to say that Valve Steam, have under the OpenVR umbrella, they're really trying to kind of push OpenVR, which is a software development kit for hardware makers. They came out with a thing called Lighthouse, which is a device that allows for positional tracking of a person in a room, a person that wears a head-mounted display. Theoretically, if you have that thing in your room, you can put out the head-mounted display and you can have virtual reality experiences that are very accurately displaying in virtual reality your position in the room. And they're giving that away for free so people can use it and work with it.
Yeah.
Before I forget, let's remind folks that you can ping the show's avatar Drax Files anytime with news scoops, ideas, press releases. Also, call us on Skype. Drax Files is the Skype handle, and the email of this program is radio@draxfiles.com. You can become a sponsor with us. You can become an individual sponsor or corporate sponsor, if you will. Let's welcome our newest corporate sponsor, I would say, Dutchy Furniture. Dutchy Furniture
Yay.
from Frauke Hurenbeek. Is that the... Am I mispronouncing that name?
Oh, yes, very much so. Dutch, that is rather nasty, the way you're saying it. Het is Vrouwtje Horenbeek.
Horenbeek.
Yeah, but Dutchy makes some of the best stuff in Second Life.
Absolutely.
To my personal opinion, a really nice furniture and an amazing villa. And if you decorate it with those things, it's droolable. Really nice stuff. And I think it was when I visited her shop for the first time. It was probably the first time that I was actually very impressed with the quality of things I saw. And I'm not saying this just because she's a sponsor or anything like that, or because she's Dutch.
She's Dutch. That's why you're saying it.
But it's just true, and I think that everyone who knows her stuff realizes that.
All right, so we're signing off today. It's the last show. Like I said earlier, we have shows every Friday, just not the news segment and not the live to tape news segment. We're going to go over to Kaleo now, tell us what was so important about SVVR from his point of view as a young person. We recorded that. We recorded it in a Chinese restaurant because we save time by eating and recording at the same time.
Before we go to that wonderful interview with added sound effects of eating, did you read about that IMVU going virtual?
Right. Oh my God. Yes, we do have a couple news items. Now I see. VentureBeat reports that IMVU, or as I call it, Second Life Lite.
Yeah, that's a good name for it.
Is entering the era of virtual reality. They now have, Joe, virtual rooms, and they're ready for VR.
Well, that's really great, but they are massive competition for Second Life. How many users have they got?
This is so weird to me because I don't understand this. They have apparently 3 million monthly active users, and I think Second Life has less than 1 million. They have, I think on Facebook, even 2 million likes or something like that.
Yeah.
Their videos have enormous numbers. I do not understand it. This is a complete mystery to me that IMVU, which is, frankly, it seems to me,
glorified chat room.
it is a glorified chat room, right? I mean, you can dress up a little bit. You can put a sofa in there and chat and people.
I think it is mostly advertising, because you see IMVU banners everywhere you go, and and it's sort of they advertise with what they know, especially young people. I think they are aiming at young people are interested in. I think that is one of the things. And I think that if you can sort of reach these people and, tell them, You can do all those things with your avatar. Oh, that's cute. This is what you can do with your avatar in Second Life. This is how you can change your avatar over here, because that is one of the things about Second Life, is that no other game or virtual world that I know gives you that much freedom to change your avatar and build your, you can do an advertising campaign. Oh, is this what you can do in IMView? Oh, you can go and visit a room. Or in Second Life, you can build your room.
So are you saying that if Lab would use more advertisement, they would be able to achieve that user base? Here, I just want to quote from the article, is this the CEO, Brett Durrett? This is what he says. People have been talking about high-end VR experience like going to a basketball game in VR, but those are heavyweight experiences. But here in IMView, you can hang out and do it in a lightweight way.
Mm-hmm. If Second Life would have a light version where you can do exactly that, but visit Sims, they could open a whole new market.
You think so?
No, you can come to Second Life. And you don't have to build. You don't have 50,000 buttons. You can do nothing more than what IMView promises you.
But Joe, you remember they split the viewer once. They split a basic viewer with the full-fledged viewer.
Yeah, but when they did that, they did it exactly the wrong way. They removed some of the things that every user wants, even the basic simple users that don't want all the fuss. For instance, changing your avatar. I heard they removed that. That's one of the first things everyone does. That's one of the things everyone likes.
That's true.
Second Life can offer the IMView experience easily, and instead of creating rooms, they can say we pick a few Sims, or we ask a few Second Life people to create a few of these locations where people just go to chat and dance.
And they should be safe for VR, because I want to add another thing. Obviously, as we know, the amount of frames per second is absolutely vital, especially as the headsets get better. It's even more important. I think that might actually make sense for them to implement a subsection of the destination guide with VR safe, simple places.
When you first join Second Life, it is going to be very easy, very basic. It's going to be IMView. You get an avatar. You can very easily have lots of fun changing it and making it the way you want.
So we're talking about two things, though, here, but they are related. So make it easier and then make it VR safe in the sense that you can not guarantee, but make pretty sure that the frame rates are very high by limiting the content, by controlling the types of content. You know what, Joe? I'm just thinking about it. Why not? And you are very good with these ideas. You should go to the drawing board right now and whip up a campaign that is a little bit more aggressive, like the Pepsi versus Coke campaign.
Yeah, Second Life versus IMView.
Exactly. Okay, listener, come up with good ideas.
When the next generation Second Life is coming, I am assuming that Lab is smart enough to put a hell of a lot of money into advertising, and that the beginner experience is going to be a lot better, a lot easier, and that it's going to work pretty smoothly on a good computer for VR. And if they get all those things right, they're only going to get one chance at being the next big virtual world. But if they get it all right, we could have another golden age, or even a bigger one.
Yeah, let's please stop talking about IMView. We had such a great show, and now I'm like really ticked off. Look at these avatars. I don't even know if you can sell this stuff.
Sansar. Let's talk about Sansar.
Yeah,
We've seen our first picture.
It sounds like a meditative chant too. We should just chant that Sansar, Sansar.
Careful! You'll be shot as a terrorist before you know it.
You don't know. If I wear flip-flops and if I'm a white guy in Silicon Valley, I can do whatever I want.
You know, I've met you, right?
Damn it. I need to scan my avatar.
The most exciting thing about what I've seen about this event was that we saw our first picture of Sansar. And of course, it was only an artist's impression, and it means absolutely nothing. It has no value whatsoever. But it was, the first public revealing. So that was fun.
Okay, we got to move on here. There's another news item. We'll just link to it on the blog. It just came out. Somebody hacked into the Oculus Rift. Use that term loosely. So this is a system that tracks the motion of a person's mouth region using a 3D camera that kind of comes down. It's attached to the Oculus Rift and then comes down and then kind of monitors your lower region of your face and transfers that in near real time onto the avatar. Of course, they're doing this at USC. Where else? So we'll link to that article. It's plenty stuff to read. Let's go to Kaleo here, who is eating at a Chinese restaurant. Joe, it was a pleasure to host season 2 with you.
Yeah, ditto.
And when season 3 is starting in the fall, I want 1920s Berlin to be 120% mesh.
I think I'll have Berlin finished by then, meshed it, and may have started on my next project, 1940s London. But then again, maybe I'll be too busy running around Sansar.
Joe, Sansar is so exclusive. They don't let people in who can't spell the word Maya. And I'm not talking about Biene Maya, okay?
Yeah, but I've Ebbe has a beer tap here in my bar here in 920s Berlin. So if he doesn't let me in, I'm gonna have to call him and make him pay for all the schnapps that he's been ordering.
That's favoritism. Unbelievable.
No, that's blackmail.
Okay. All right.
I know what he's been doing in Berlin.
Okay, let's stop with this. Let's go to Kaleo. Have a great weekend, Joe.
Auf Wiedersehen.
And here is the roaming reporter, Kaleo, with his take on the VR Expo. What did you like most about the conference?
So my favorite thing about the SVVR was the Cubicle Ninja's booth. They made a meditation software and also kind of educational stuff. Like they had a little thing on Venice.
Yeah, they had a trip to Venice, right?
Mm-hmm. You could look at the different voice bubbles, and then when you look at those, then it plays a little clip, and then there's also a picture icon you look at, and then it shows you a picture from the subject.
So Cubicle Ninjas is like a design company. They used, I think they used the Gear VR headset, and
they also use the Oculus DKT.
That's right. And it's the Venice experience had real 360 video. It was not a replica, not a simulation of Venice, right?
No, it was a simulation. It wasn't a video.
Mm-hmm. What did you think about Oculus?
The Oculus.
You didn't get in.
I didn't get into the Oculus, but I got to use the Oculus in other booths, but I couldn't use the...
Why didn't you get into the Oculus booth?
Because they didn't let in people under 13.
Damn. Did you ask anyone why?
No. And everybody under 18 had to get parents' permission and signature. And in the Gear VR, official Gear VR booth, you also needed a parent's signature, but you didn't have to be under 13. So, but I didn't get your signature because you were interviewing people. So.
Mm-hmm. What did you think about the Ricoh Theta, which is that 360 camera? And I think, what was the price point? It's $180?
$275.
Oh, $275. So this is a camera. It's pretty flat. Is it thinner than a flip cam?
No, sorry, $175. Yeah,
175?
it's really thin. It's only about 2-3 centimeters thick.
And you can take 3D video. It just rotates around itself and it shoots the video.
No, it doesn't rotate. It just has fisheye lenses on each side that still give you the 360 video.
But how does it capture the video? It captures it not on the camera itself, but it streams it to your existing phone.
Yeah.
You interviewed a whole bunch of people, right? Mm-hmm. And we're going to play those, but you interviewed somebody from Altspace VR.
Yeah, I interviewed the CEO of Altspace VR.
Can you explain Altspace? Because Altspace, they're talking about that they're a social VR space, kind of like, I guess, going into Second Life's domain.
Well,
but it looks like really the avatars look like little sticks.
No, the avatars look kind of similar to Second Life avatars, but
really,
yeah, but they don't have you can't buy or make things. Well, you can buy things, but you can't make things, and it's basically only sharing.
You can share web content, right?
Yeah, you can share 2D web content.
And how do you communicate in Altspace?
Voice only.
What do you think about that?
I think it's stupid, and I think it's a waste of time. Honestly.
Why is it, let's just say, why is it not smart to only offer voice, in your opinion, in a social space like that?
Because people may want to not use the voice, Like the great thing about the web nowadays is anonymity, and if you can't have that,
You also told me though that a lot of people who are a little bit shyer
yeah,
and that maybe have some social anxiety, they don't like voice.
like my friends from Missouri.
So they only have voice in Altspace. That is indeed interesting. Did you try? I'm looking up here what the name was. Did you because that was an issue that they discussed in the panels, how to actually use input, and there was this keyboard that you hold in your hands.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, True Grip.
True Grip. It's like a handheld keyboard with a mouse built in and a game controller, and you hold it. So, did you try this out?
Yes, I did. The typing is actually very hard. The main keyboard row where you lay your fingers on, like, it's basically the same layout as a normal keyboard, but it's just hard. It just seems really weird, and it's hard to type like that.
You have it in your hand like a game controller, and your fingers are then on those on the keys to type. So I always say, I know you laughed at me when at the conference. I always say, how do you type blind? And isn't that hard? Isn't that the biggest
that's
issue?
not the hard
And then
part.
you said that's not even the issue because you can type blind and you learned it in 4th grade. So texting in virtual reality with an Oculus on or a Gear VR on
There's
is
no
really not a
problem with
bigger
that.
problem, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about Kite and Lightning?
Kite and Lightning is cool.
So Kite and Lightning makes experiences for what devices? They had Oculus at the booth?
Yeah.
Or they had Gear VR?
They used Oculus. They just make little 3D experiences. It's like a 3D video, but it's animated.
So you are in a somewhat passive position with Kite and Lightning.
Yeah.
You're an observer. Can you describe one of those experiences? And then the added question: do you like to be kind of passive in there?
So, yes, I do like to be passive sometimes.
Because you like the Venice experience too, and some
Yeah.
people would say, "Well, I'm
But
just."
that I actually learned things, and it wasn't really passive.
No, I mean passive in the sense like you're not walking around, you're not shooting stuff.
Yeah, I do like that, but a lot of other people do that too. Little animations. The thing they had when I was there, it was from the new movie Insurgent, which is in the Divergent series, and where you go through like little tests, like crows are flying at you, and you get hit by a train in your memory. I don't know if
And you inhabit the body of a character in that
Yeah.
story, but you're essentially passive. You're just watching it through his eyes. Is that
Yeah.
what's happening?
yeah.
What don't you like about that? Is it not very immersive?
It's not. Well, it's kind of immersive, but it's supposed to be scary, but it isn't.
Why do you think it's not?
Because things flying at you isn't really that scary.
And that reminds me of what you said earlier about cubicle ninjas. When we talked on the way home, that what you liked about it is the sound, right?
Yeah, the sound immerses you in the experience more, I think. The ambience of the surroundings that make it seem really realistic. Because if you're playing a game
Oh, I see.
without sound, it's not really. You're not really in it. You're just playing it. And meditation doesn't work if you're not immersed.
Did you see a lot of virtual worlds that allow people to build their own experiences? Did you see that a lot?
Yeah, I saw High Fidelity.
That was a trick question because I only saw High Fidelity.
You're right. It was basically just High Fidelity.
So High Fidelity is trying to make something where people can make their own content, just like Second Life. But what I want to know from you is, do you think that people will be interested in that? Or would you be interested in something where you can create your own experiences?
Yeah. There are two different types of people. Well, there's more than two, but for this example, I'll use two. There's people who want to play things and want to build things. And I'm kind of in between.
That's why I think you really like Lego Universe. Lego Universe was still kind of the coolest thing, and that was never replicated, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe High Fidelity can replicate that.
I think it actually can, if someone would make that, but most people don't even know what it is.
Another set of goggles that we saw was Zeiss from Germany,
VR1.
and they work together with the Nod. Can you explain what the Nod is?
The Nod is a ring that you can use as a gaming controller or just as a controller for really anything, as a TV remote.
So you can just use it as a remote, yeah.
Yeah, in the demo I played, you used 2 of the buttons on the front to move around and the button on the top to shoot. And if you hold down the shooting button and flip sideways, then you change a different weapon.
Does that really work?
Yeah, it does.
So really without a lot of latency or lag or anything?
No latency at all.
Wow. And they partnered with Zeiss. And the Zeiss goggles, anything about them? Do they fit better or worse or the same?
They fit about the same as pretty much any other goggle.
You don't see a big difference between all these goggles, right? The way they fit?
I do see a difference, but
Yeah?
they fit the same. So,
No, I mean in terms of fit, I mean. Is there like any pair of goggles that you think fit better than other ones?
Well, all the goggles I tried out this time were better than the Dive because the Dive is really uncomfortable and tiny.
Well, that was last year. That goes to show you how fast the train moves. So all the goggles that are based on a existing smartphone fit a lot better.
Yeah, they do.
What else about Zeiss? You were just talking, sorry?
Not really much. They look kind of cool because they look really modern, but nothing really very special about them.
Did you miss the guy from GameFace Labs?
Yeah, I saw him, but
He didn't have any goggles.
no, he just had like a tablet and was showing 2 guys something.
Do you know what he did?
No, I didn't.
This guy is so cool, Ed Mason. He didn't have a booth, but he was running around with a tablet, showing people how fast applications download into the GameFace Labs headset. And he said it's much better to show people like this than popping a headset on their head and then talking to them why they can't see you. Well, it makes sense. So he showed they are developing kind of an app store for games and worlds that they deploy into the headset so quickly that you can play them right away and even procedurally
Use them while they're downloading.
exactly procedural virtual worlds. You can walk through the virtual world. That's what he said, and they download as you explore them, as you walk through them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That was his argument, and the price point for the GameFace Labs, by the way, is about $500. And I said, well, isn't that a bit much? And he said, well, you get the whole computing power. Did you try out Jaunt?
Yes, I did. They make 360 videos. It's basically a camera tree, but it's static. It doesn't move. So there was a demo with a band, and there was actually a few demos with bands, just concerts, not very special. I've seen a lot of those in 3D videos. But there was this one little horror experience, which was really cool, where you stand in a...
Wait a minute, real quick. Let's stick with the music demos. But you're in it. What goggles do they use, John?
They use the Gear VR.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't it feel you're standing in? How does it feel? You're standing in front of the band, or anything?
Yeah. You basically in the very front row.
How's the sound?
The sound is not very good because it's just coming from the phone. But actually no, never mind. They gave you headphones. In certain experiences with the Gear VR, they don't give you headphones, but in that one they did.
No, you were talking about the horror project.
Horror experience, yeah. It was you were just sitting in a chair, and there was a little girl that kept coming, and then she put a bag over your head, and then you turned up in some garage with a bunch of hooded people with masks, and then you blacked out, and then when you came alive again, the girl was gone, and there was like a big thing standing in the middle of the room covered in white, and then it was over.
Was that scary?
It was pretty scary.
But that was not simulated. That was with real life action.
All the jaunt is real life action. They're not simulated.
That's what they specialize in. And I think they're planning to do live streaming of events.
Like concerts.
Yeah,
that'd
and
be
maybe
cool.
sport. Did they talk about sport? You didn't see anything with sport?
No, I did see a different booth with sports though.
Yeah?
Yeah, live TV something. I also interviewed them. They basically watching a game. They also do 360 videos so you can watch games. They specialize only in watching sports games.
Wait a minute, what did you mean simulation? Those are
Yeah.
real sports games.
Yeah, but the demo was a simulation.
Interjecting in post-production here real quick, Kaleo is actually talking about VRLive.tv, a company that offers several different live streams, including the Roxy Music Club in LA and VR Rumble with boxing matches. You can also upload your own 360 video that you can then watch or they encode. So we'll find out more as we go along and broadcast Kaleo's full interview in a couple weeks. Back to the restaurant. Did you try Sixth Sense this time? You tried it last time. STEM system.
Yeah, I tried them this time.
How does it feel?
Doesn't really feel any different. They just added the head tracking. So you have 2 controllers in your hands and on your head, and for the demo you only had those 3 controllers, but I think there are also 2 for your feet in the full console.
Right, when you buy it you get 5.
And it's 3D printed, so that's pretty cool.
Is it kind of clunky to hold those things?
Not really, they're pretty light because 3D printed materials tend to be a lot lighter than regular hard plastic.
I know I asked you this question before, but do you think that regular people, because the Sixth Sense guys, they want to use this for retail, where you can try on clothes and stuff while you're at home? You have goggles, but then you're basically virtually in the shop or in Home Depot. What do you think is that, like, your mom would use something like this instead of going to Home Depot or to Target?
No, I don't think really anybody would use that because it's not. It's just. I frankly think that's pretty stupid.
Only a gamer like you would use it.
No.
But
I don't
not to
think
go to
anybody
Target.
Would use it.
Oh, you think nobody would use it?
No.
Why? Because it's just clunky and weird looking?
Yeah, and you don't feel it, and you can't really feel the material, and can't see how thick it is. So you can't even tell if it fits you.
That's a good point. So that's obviously a big restriction of virtual reality, that the tactile experience is not there.
Yeah.
That's a good point, of course. So you think that they're banking on people actually using this for retail, but people go shopping online. They buy clothes online. They don't touch them on a website.
Well, that's because you can look at the size.
Yeah, but you can't touch the fabric.
You can't touch the fabric in VR either. You don't feel it.
That's my point, Kaleo. A lot of people shop online. They're looking at it as an improvement over shopping on a 2D website.
There's not much of an improvement except that you can look at it at different angles.
Well, but you also have clunky-looking little controllers in your head. What do you think of Meta? Meta, I think, was the only kind of augmented reality component in the conference. What is Meta? Can you explain what it is? Meta glasses.
Or goggles that you wear with little cameras on the top. Because most augmented reality goggles don't have cameras to track your hands. So they're just passive games where you just look to shoot or something. But in Meta, you can, for the demo, there were different stuff, like you can lift up a car with your hand. You can tap on things, pinch things, drag them, grab them, and stuff like that.
And again, to clarify, those are virtual images that float in the air in the real world.
Yeah.
The augmented reality version, what the Leap Motion would be tied to an Oculus, right?
Yeah, it's like that, but it's augmented, like you said. Sorry.
Interesting. Do you find that interesting, just in general speaking? Do you find augmented reality more interesting or virtual reality?
They're both really interesting. I just kind of like augmented reality more.
Why?
It just seems cooler that you can have objects in the real world. That you can have objects projected into the real world without them actually being there.
But don't you want to immerse yourself completely in, when you play a game, I mean, you're completely immersed in another world.
You can be still completely immersed in your world while still playing the game. Like, I have this game, which is only an audio adventure, but I'm still extremely immersed, and I'm following the story.
Explain that game. That's a really good that you bring this up, yeah.
It's a running game where you run from zombies. It sounds stupid, but it really isn't. You go on missions, and then
it's an app for your phone.
Yeah, and there's people around you in the audio adventure, but you don't actually see them, but you can still imagine them there because
The voice in the audio tells you that there are people around you. You have to run away from them.
Yeah.
And you have to find things. Mm-hmm. So you're actually jogging, like we did this weekend. You're jogging, you're running, and then all of a sudden you go into a sprint because the audio adventure tells you that right now there's an attack on you, right?
Yeah.
And it's only an audio adventure, and it blends in with the music you have on your iPod or your phone, right?
Yeah.
So that is pretty immersive. You can really imagine that.
Yeah.
Without goggles.
Without goggles. I actually can imagine things often better than with goggles with sound.
Which leads me to another interesting question. Do you think that goggles are for people who have no imagination?
No.
Should they maybe read a book?
No, because a lot of people that make the goggles have an extreme imagination, and that make the softwares used with the goggles.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, this was talking to you, but I have to tell you, a lot of people would say that they would need the goggles versus just looking at a Second Life avatar in order to feel immersed. And you're telling me something exciting, which I completely agree with, that you can be completely immersed and imagine things when you have an audio story that blends in with the real world around you. Or if you read a book, exactly, a book lets you be immersed without any visuals. Do you think that needs to be learned, though?
Yeah, I know a lot of people my friends that don't really do stuff outside. They just play video games all day.
Mm-hmm. Do their parents read to them, or do they watch reality TV together?
I don't know.
We have to ask them. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Nobody reads. Who cares? I saw you do an educational adventure at the River or Rothenberg Ventures booth. Can you explain that?
Yeah, that teaches you about overfishing and what kind of fish are overfished and selectively fished. Like shrimp and prawn, which I just finished eating right now, are fished. It's not funny.
It is not funny, but you just ate it.
I know. They are fished, and then a lot of the catches that are accidentally fished with them are just thrown away. For every 1 pound of prawn or shrimp, there are about 9 pounds of fish. Other fish are thrown away.
Did they have an audio track that gave you that information while they were doing these visuals in that experience?
Yes.
Do you see this in the classroom? Something like this?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that teachers would use it in the classroom? Mm-hmm. But how would they use it? They would need like 20 Gear VRs, right?
Yeah.
You think the teachers would go for that?
I think a lot of teachers would, but I don't know if the school districts would allow it.
Would you find this more exciting than some other? I mean, you guys have watched some really good documentaries like the Baggett film. I was wondering, do you think it would have a bigger impact if you had watched that Baggett film about plastics with an experience in virtual reality versus a film?
Yeah, probably, but I don't think most of the kids would probably like it, because a lot of the time it's not that the teachers don't want it, it's often that the kids don't want it.
So the kids in your class didn't find that Baggett movie interesting?
Not really. Some of them did.
Wow.
I did.
Mm-hmm. And you found the overfishing experience good. I mean, they could have something like this at the aquarium. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Did you see that Breakroom experience by these guys from Finland?
Yeah, I saw that.
What is the Breakroom? Isn't that exactly what I do in Second Life?
No. It's basically just a three-dimensional view of browser tabs, and you can just use a virtual world in your break time in the Breakroom app. Basically, if you're in a noisy office and you don't want to be annoyed by other people around you, just put on your noise-canceling headphones in your Rift, and you're good to go.
You sound like a salesman for these guys. I actually really liked it, and I mean the key is really that you have noise cancellation headphones, right? Without that, it won't work. Again, the issue is of being separated or immersed on the oral level more than anything. My final question, would you agree with the assessment that in virtual reality, as with other things, content is king?
The content is very important because I don't really care about the visor that much.
I forgot to ask you what you mentioned on the way home, that stomps. Those are little things that give you feedback when you walk. Can you explain what the stomps are? They were there last year too.
You basically just strap them on your shoe or your ankle. Last time they were on your ankle, now I think you're on your shoe. And you walk in place on a little dot area, and there's a little rig where your the Oculus Rift hangs down from. I think it's kind of inconvenient.
Inconvenient, yeah.
Yeah. I just don't like it.
So what's the experience? You see yourself walking, but in fact you're walking in one spot.
Yeah, but in the world you're walking around.
And you told me that you just feel it's strange that it's so recognizable that you're not really walking in real life, and that there's a discrepancy between what you see in the virtual world and that, right? Mm-hmm. Is that why it's strange?
Yeah.
You never tried one of the omnidirectional treadmills, and they weren't
at the conference.
They weren't at the conference. But would you think that would work?
Yeah, I think treadmills are a lot better because if you've actually walked on an actual treadmill, it feels actually like you're running or walking.
Yeah.
Because walking in place doesn't feel real. It just feels like you're walking in place because that's what you're doing. And plus, it makes you look really stupid.
Well, for the others.
Yeah.
That look at you.
Yeah, maybe if you're in a cafe bistro with like stomps in them, which I doubt there will ever be.
So in the future you have VR cafes.
Yeah.
How do you envision those?
I envision those to be
exactly like
there's a
Ready
little
Player
counter. No, not exactly, but similar as in Ready Player One. You can go into the rooms, or you can just stay at the counter and just eat and treat it like a normal cafe, or go into the room and rent it for a certain amount of money. Mm-hmm. And you have your little area and your rig that, depending on the price level of the room, costs different.
How old are you?
I'm 11.
And you're reading stuff like Ready Player One?
You're the one who had bought the book and let me read it, so it's
me?
Ultimately your fault.
Right. I'm not fit to be a parent.
You got that right.
And yes, you're right, the hour is not completed yet. Here's a little goodie at the very end of the show. Honor McMillan, prominent Second Life blogger and community manager, on her take about this whole Atlas Obscura New World Notes quote-unquote debacle. If you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to last week's show. The original article written by Eric Grundhauser was entitled The Forgotten Wonders of the Digital World. Again, Hamlet Au, the owner of the New World Notes blog, thank you for coming on the show last week and showing us your point of view on this issue. But here's Honor McMillan with her take on all of this. Little reminder, if you want your opinion voiced on the show, call us, send us audio, or leave a voicemail on Skype. Bye.
When the Atlas Obscura article was published, like many people, I was very pleased with it. I was pleased with it because, for once, it seemed to be reflective of the Second Life I knew. For once, it actually talked about the really cool things that I can't keep up with in Second Life. And although it mentioned, both he and Zeke mentioned, you can go find any fetish, perversion, whatever it is you want, but you can also find art and architecture and community and amazing people and amazing things. And for once, it reflected my Second Life. When Hamlet wrote his article, a number of points he made within the article resonated negatively with me. What concerned me most at the time, it's his continual reliance on a list of the most popular Sims to indicate that Second Life is full of pornography and violent sex. So he prints a list periodically of the 25 most popular Second Life Sims from Metaverse Business. These are full of pornography and violent and sexual content. Now, there's a number of issues with this that I have and other people have. There are 46,000 people in Second Life right now, okay? So if you want to tell me that those few hundred people reflect all of Second Life, it doesn't work. If you take the most popular, meaning the Sims that have the most people in them, and relate that to the most populated places in real life, okay? Then you would be saying that all you have to do is look at London, and you'll know exactly what the entire UK looks like, which I don't think anybody's going to agree with. It would also mean that all you'd have to do is know New York and Los Angeles, and you'd know everything you need to know about the United States of America, which is not true. But the second issue is all of those adult Sims don't have pornography and violent sex in them. There are a number of reasons why people use that maturity rating. Certainly they have to if they want to include pornography. Certainly they have to if they want to have violent sexual role play or whatever. But most people don't seem to understand that moderate Sims can host nudity. And I've been contacted by a number of Sim owners who have rated the maturity level of their Sims adult because they keep getting complaints from what they consider the conservative element who encounter nudity. And they just want to get rid of the complaints. But that doesn't mean they then add pornography. I cover adult Sims all the time. I don't cover pornography. I won't stay in a place that has it. I won't stay on a Sim that has violent sex. Less than 20% of all Sims are rated adult. And Arape pointed out that unless you specify adult in your settings, you will never encounter an adult Sim. When he gets bumped, when we all get bumped, you teleport someplace and the location is not available. The bumping process works like Hogwarts sorting hat, okay? They can't send everybody to the same Sim. So if you're under the age of 18, you're sent to a general Sim because that's the maturity rating in your settings. For the rest of us, it goes to the highest maturity level you've specified. So if you've specified adult, that's where you get sent. Everybody else goes to a moderate Sim, and that's the largest population. So Hamlet is getting bumped to adult Sims in a teleport bump because that's the highest level maturity rating he's specified in his settings. People who specify moderate as their highest rating don't go to those places. So you don't see it accidentally if you don't want to see porn or adult because you won't have it in your settings. The default is general and moderate. You have to go in and change it to adult in order to access those other locations. I'll tell you what I would like to finish up with, because I think it's extremely valuable to have somebody who's seen as a reliable reporter or a reliable resource for real life and general media and strangers to see, to reflect Second Life, to understand Second Life. They may not come to our niche little blogs, or they might not find your podcast, but they may go to Hamlet because he's known out there, And I think that's an extremely valuable resource. So I'm going to ask him as a reporter to do something. We keep talking about, and people keep mentioning how our in-world numbers have gone down. But people tend to extrapolate and reach conclusions just based on that line. His is Second Life is dying. Okay, maybe it is. But I don't know why, because all I know is the number's gone down. What I don't know, and I don't know anybody outside Linden Lab who does know, where are those numbers going down? I mean, is it the same percentage across all demographics? Is it everybody who has a low-end computer and couldn't access mesh? Is it all males in Brazil between the ages of 24 and 28 who just got a really new cool site that they've gone to? What are the demographics? We can't generalize and say it's because it's too expensive or because it's too difficult with low-end computers. We can't generalize and say anything unless somebody actually does what a journalist should be doing, and Hamlet's in the best position to do it, dig down and find out. I think because he's the only person I've seen who's in a position to be taken seriously, that he has an enormous responsibility to live up to that. That's what I was trying to say.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Leap Motion, Stitcher, Fateware by Damien Fate, Giza Creations, Arrows Avatars, Maven Homes, Madbee Productions, Bot Girls Identity Circus, Ison, Caravel Design, Vika Creations, Humanoid Animations, Loki Elliott, Botanical, Death Row Designs, Fallen Gods Incorporated, What's Next, Abranimations, Blue Moon Enterprises, Avacon, and Landscapes Unlimited. Contact the show via Skype, DraxFiles, Avatar, DraxFiles, or email radio@draxfiles.com.